If you need a fix and you're in a bind, I've got a few tricks that'll ease your mind. No need to stress, 'cause you're in good hands. Ain't a job too big for the Bravo man.
Today we have a Bunn Sure Immersion 220 bean-to-cup unit. Customer says that it flooded the floor and countertop, so they turned the power off and the water off. The brew tube, the funnel tube, and the bypass tube are all attached to dump valves on the reservoir tank that will cause this type of problem to happen. To get to these valves, you need to take off the small access plate inside the machine. To remove the side panel, there are 2 screws on the bottom holding it in place. Just loosen up the screws. The panel is slotted, so you can pull it off, and this will give you complete access to the side of the machine. Let's put the key back in so we don't lose it. Begin by taking the first valve out very slowly. We think the water level is below the valves, but we're not certain, and we'll know soon enough. Ah, nice. So now we can go ahead and remove all 3 solenoid valves and begin cleaning. The second valve, somebody has cut one of the leads and then used a wire nut to splice them together. Amateur move. So I'm going to have to remove the leads from the valve so I can get the third valve out easily. Once I get the valves out, I like to begin cleaning from the far left valve and then working my way to the outer part of the machine. I'll need to put the wires back on the second valve so I don't get things mixed up. Now we begin by taking the leads off and then pulling the bottom tube off of the dump valve. It's kind of tight sometimes. You just got to twist it and pull it at the same time. It'll come off eventually. To take the valve apart, we're going to need a 1/4-inch nut driver. Remove the 4 screws that hold the valve together, and this will allow it to come apart and gain access to the plunger, spring, and valve body. All these pieces is where lime buildup occurs. It's hard to see on the plunger, but there is a crusty buildup on the tip, and there's a little bit of lime inside the valve body where the plunger seats. This is what causes a continuous drip. But buildup like this on the stem fitting can break loose and hold the plunger open. This will flood a location the way the customer described. Luckily, we got a nice sink in the back. We can clean these pieces with hot water and put them back together. Gently scrape the lime off of the rubber plunger. Careful not to score the rubber, especially at the cone end, so that it seats well against the valve body. Yikes, that water's hot. Need to get some cold in there. Use the bottle brush that's hanging on the right side of the machine. After cleaning the valve body completely, I like to take my finger and put it against the part that the rubber seat will fit against. Feel for any scores or cuts that can cause the plunger not to seat against the valve body, allowing it to drip continuously. The last thing you want is for this thing to drip after you've put it back together. Reassemble the valve the way it came apart. Start with the valve plunger and put it into the body. Then apply the metal plate. Make sure that the notched out part for the vent tube is in the correct position. When attaching the solenoid coil to the valve body, make sure that the spade connectors are pointing away from the stem that goes into the tank grommet. Now just put the screws in and tighten them down snug. The final step is to put the rubber hose on the barbed part of the valve and press the stem into the rubber tank grommet securely. Attach the 2 wires to the spade connectors on the coil, and you're done. Repeat these steps for the other 2 valves. There are some less common reasons for why the machine may leak. One is that the water level probe may be limed up and not sensing the water correctly. To solve this, just remove the probe and scrape the lime from the silver part of the probe, and then reattach it. Cycle the machine several times to make sure that it stops filling when the water reaches the probe. This is good to do regardless, as a preventative measure. A second possibility could be that the control board is bad and it's not reading the water level probe. To determine this, ground the probe to the side of the machine and see if there is still 120 volts being supplied to the inlet valve. If so, then the control board is bad and it will need to be replaced. Another possibility is that the water supply line may be leaking at the connection to the inlet valve. Tighten the connection and make sure that you don't have any drips that may build up over time. Lastly, and not so common, is a crack in the brew box. Inspect the box to make sure that you do not have any leaks coming from around the base or the molded parts. Now that we've got the valves cleaned and reassembled, let's turn the power on to the machine. I like to pull out the door safety switch so that we can watch the inside as it begins to boot up to make sure everything is working properly. Next, we can turn the water on to the machine and listen to it begin to fill. You'll hear the water rushing in and stopping when it hits the probe. Now we can go to our programming and check the temperature of the water in the tank and see that it begins to heat. This will take some time, but eventually it will reach 200 degrees and we'll be ready to run a test cup. We have finally reached 200 degrees, so let's get out of this program mode and brew ourselves a nice hot cup of coffee. We can watch the funnel come down onto the filter paper and listen to the beads as they drop into the grinding chamber and come out the chute in a nice ground calibration. The valves that we have just cleaned will begin to put the first round of water into the funnel and steep the coffee grounds, followed by a vacuum pump that will pull the water down through the grounds and into the brew box. This will happen 3 consecutive times, and after the 3rd time of the vacuum pump drawing down the water, the dump valve will open and dispense the hot coffee into a cup. Well, that takes care of it. Let's put our access panel back on and begin to clean up the area around the machine. Thanks for watching, and be careful out there on the road. It could be a dangerous place. And if people are being stupid, make sure you let them know you're there. Have a great day.